Welcome back everyone, I'm ajbarse, and in this video I'm going to show a couple of workflows that'll help you sync your audio to your video. So if you're in the Mac camp and you're a fan of Final Cut Pro, this is the route that you'll be going to syncing your video to your audio clip. So you can tell I'm in Final Cut Pro and I have a sample event, and I have a video clip straight from my A7 III. You need bright light, or maybe you need to... Oof, gotta love that onboard camera mic. And then I have my audio from my Lav Plus. So the next thing is background, and this can vary, much more isolated. So whenever you record, regardless of the camera, whether it's your smartphone or if you have a DSLR, do make sure that you are still recording audio. You're going to need that because most of these editors are using two different algorithms to sync up your audio. One is timecode and the other one is waveform. And waveform, if you're not familiar with it, is this. Whenever you look at audio, it's the peaks and valleys, kind of looks like an etching off of a Richter scale. You know, this is your audio, and these peaks and valleys have a unique fingerprint regardless of what the microphone or the camera is. So as long as you're recording audio on your video, make sure you keep that because that's going to help you greatly using an algorithm. So what we're going to do in Final Cut is I'm going to select both my audio and video source. I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to go to synchronize clips. When I do, it'll add, based off of the name of the video clip, it'll add a attack synchronize clip. You can stick it in a different event if this wasn't the event that you intended it to, and make sure that the use audio for synchronization checkbox is checked. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Auto magically. We now have a kind of a new compounded clip above our clips that we have in our library. And if I were to come over here and let's hit play, light shows up in different Kelvin ratings. So now you can tell that now my audio has been stepped over the video, and it's all synced up. We can actually double click on this and we can actually see what the algorithm has done. So as you can tell, the audio from my lav is down here, the audio from my video is up here, and even though when I marked in on this, I was quite a bit off. There was a couple of seconds when I was fiddling around with the camera before I engaged my microphone. You can tell there's quite some space here. And that's what's nice about this algorithm is that it will detect based off of that fingerprint on both the camera audio and your mic audio. Now, one trick I do want to point out, and this is just a good habit to get into regardless of what you're doing, whenever you're doing audio visual anything, and you're doing video sync and audio sync on two separate devices, still make sure you do a clap, or if you have a marker, whatever, but make sure you have that because at least it's a fail-safe. Audio video sync you can still do by hand. Matter of fact, I still do a lot. And as long as you have that sharp clap somewhere that you can visually see the clap that you're doing, and you can mark it with your audio, you can still come in here and do some fine tuning. So let's say I noticed that there was just an ever so slight maybe latency have between that clap and my audio. I can actually move this over in this compound clip and line it up myself. But you have that level of finesse by doing the synchronized clip in Final Cut. So if you're a fan of Adobe Creative Cloud and you're using Premiere, this is the way that you'd be doing it. In your library, you'll see that you'll have your video and your audio that you want. If you click on both of those and you right mouse click and hit merge clip, what you'll do is you'll get the synchronization panel. Now in the synchronization panel, it's going to ask you if you're going to do it based off of points. Just make sure that the audio is grayed. When you click on that, you'll be able to go ahead and hit OK, and that will create, very similar in Final Cut, a new compound clip that is joined with your audio and your video. Next up, a little bit more obscure and from my alternative AV presentation is HitFilm Express. Now in HitFilm Express, what you're able to do is very similar as well. And right now I have my waveform, which is from my lav, and I have my MOV file, which is from my camera. If I come in here and I go ahead and I hit shift and click on both of these, right mouse click, and we can do a merge audio video. When we do this, it will auto-magically merge these. Now, here's the one thing about HitFilm I will express, no pun intended, is that if you have a really long video and a really long audio file that has a really big gap where the timecode doesn't seem to match really well, HitFilm has a problem syncing it up. So you have to make sure that if you're within a second or two of hitting your audio and your video, HitFilm will do just fine, but if you waited several seconds up to a minute, you may notice that HitFilm has a hard time syncing up the clip. So you saw how long it took for this clip. I'm going to go ahead and go into my merge clip. All right, and now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and go into my scene. Place times that many of us are being called to do, you're going to have to use with what you have. And that's pretty good. You're going to notice a little bit of stutter on mine, only because I have 4 different applications running for video. So that's how you would do it in HitFilm Express. Again, select the clips within your bin, right mouse click, and each of these apps just call the same function a different name. All right, so by now you're probably noticing the formula of the rinse, wash, repeat that is to bond audio to video. So the last one I have is Davinci Resolve. So when you first start up Davinci Resolve, you're usually in this interface and you'll be dragging and dropping your clips just like you would as in the other editors. Now, you're probably thinking you can do the same formula. Select both of them, right mouse click, and oops, there's no sync. Huh, okay. Well, that's because unlike the other nonlinear editors that I showed, Davinci Resolve uses more of a workflow model as opposed to a module-based model for doing their edits. So what that means is this mode that we first get in, which is showcased down here, this is the cut mode. And this is usually what you'll first start up in. What we need to do is go to the edit mode, which is the next workflow over. And when we do, we now get a different view where we get a timeline, our picture preview, and then a clip sample preview up here. We're still in the same bin that I showed before. So here's our video, here's our audio. And what I'm going to do is select both of these and now do the rinse, wash, repeat. Right mouse click, we get all of our features. I can now come down here to where it says Auto Sync Audio. And now we have 4 different options. The one that you're going to typically use is number 3, and that is the based on waveform. And when we do this, what you'll see is it'll go really fast, relatively speaking, depending on how long your clip is. Once that's done, what we can now do is we can take this and I can preview it. Comprised of 2 bar stools. That sounds really clean because it's merged that. I can bring it into my timeline, and just like that, the video is now merged with the audio from my lav. So I have nice, clean, synced, isolated audio. And what's great about using this method is it actually removes the original audio from the video, so you don't have to worry about accidentally having this come out of phase or whatever. These are actually linked together and synced up. So that wraps up my quadfecta of audio and video editing using different apps. So whether you're in Final Cut, Premiere, HitFilm, or here in Davinci Resolve, there's a way to do it, and it's really fast and fairly painless. Just remember, whenever you are syncing, make sure that you have your camera and it's doing audio as good or as bad as it's recording, and then having your secondary source so that you have the waveforms to line up and sync for you in post. Hopefully this is helpful, and I will see you in the next video.